Good. How exciting, right? So today we're going to do things a little bit different. As you see, I am solo dolo, which is great. But I want to go over some topics that, may get you thinking a little bit, may give you ideas, may give you some causes to go for, or it may make you mad, quite frankly, because we will be talking about money and wealth in America today and some of the things that may have caused it, some of the things that are causing it now, maybe a little bit of systematic racism. I know a lot of people hate that terminology, but hey, it is what it is, right? So, first and foremost, I want to thank my sponsors, Dance Solutions Youth Outreach, Mission Dance Works. And I also want to let you know that if you want to chime in on a conversation, you can call us at 301 429 WBGR, which is 9247. You can also comment on the page, WBGR Health and Wellness, where we're coming to you live, or you can chime in on the Get It Got It Good fan page, which is G3 Get It Got It Good, to make it easier for you to find. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of things and a lot of different terminologies and concepts of how people make money or why people don't have money. So what I did this morning is I Googled how to become a millionaire. That's not what we say we want, right? And according to Inc.com, there are about 15 ways to do so. So I only picked the top 5 to actually just address on a little bit. And through those top 5, I'm going to hit other areas for you, okay? So, as the number 1, right, according to Inc.com, not Nysia, okay? Don't get mad at me. I'm just a messenger. But according to Inc.com, their first one is invest 10% of your income. So I know we've all heard that before, tithing, saving, and then live, right? But what is our normal excuse? I don't make enough. Well, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I do not know. I am not in your bank account. I am not in your wallet. However, what if there was a little bit of truth to some of the people who say they don't make enough? So I'm going to read to you some of the possibilities for those who say they don't make enough. Well, if you're African American, listen to this. Blacks make up about 13.1% of the U.S. population, okay? That's about 39 or 42 million people. So that depends on if you want to, whatever you want to classify yourself as, if you're, multiracial. So it depends on a few factors, but let's just make it easy. I'm not giving you exact numbers. I'm just trying to stimulate your mind here. Okay, so we're about 39 or 42% of the people. That's about 35% makes between $12,000 to $38,000, okay, per year. So 35% makes between 12 and 38 per year. Okay, and about 20% makes under that 12,500 mark per year. So it's about 55% of the population that is barely making it by, or that is at or below the poverty line. And the poverty line, they say, is about $20,000 to $25,000 a year. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because it also depends on the number in your household, the number of dependents in your household, right? So, and what part of the country you live in. If you live in certain parts of Maryland, you pay a higher cost of living. If you live in New York or LA, you pay a higher cost of living. If you live in the middle of the country, your cost of living may be a little bit cheaper. So it depends on a few of these factors. We're just going to go broad here. So with that being said, 79.8% of pre-tax monies coming into the black household is spent on things that we need. The top 3 being housing, transportation, and then food. Of course, we got to eat. So here where it gets a little bit sketchy. Okay, if we spend about 79% of our money, pre-tax money, on housing, do you guys know that 30% going to housing? So out of the 79%, 30% of that goes to housing. So I wonder, how many people of you out there have ever tried to go and get a loan? Do you know the qualifications to get that, right? Typically, if you don't make enough, so basically here's what they do. You cannot spend more than 30% of your income for housing expenses. So if you're spending 40%, you don't qualify. If you're spending 30%, you don't qualify, essentially. So how do they come up with these numbers? Well, here's a start. They use our CE, which is our, what is it called? Our spending. So they do these researches, the Census Bureau does these researches, or the Bureau of Department of Labor, and they go into communities and they want to find out how Blacks spend their money, how whites spend their money, how Latinos spend their money, how Asians spend their money. You get the point. So they go in and they do these census. I'm sure some of you have done them before. And they want to know, what do you spend the majority of your money on? So this will allow them to see who spends their money on what. Then here's where possible ulterior motives or unethical thoughts may come into play, because what politicians then do is take this data and it helps them create policies. This is good and bad, because depending on your politician, hence the reason you have to vote, you guys. You have to get involved, because depending on your politician that represents you and your geographic area, they may make policies that are for or against you, right? So if they are making policies based on this data, then they can say as a whole, okay, so we want to make sure that no one who spends more than 30% of their income qualify for loans. Where did they get that number? They looked at the data. Who does that affect? Usually minorities. I don't know if it's a coincidence or if there's something more to it. You decide, you comment, you let me know what your thoughts are on that, right? Okay, so then here is another point that you need to consider when it comes to housing. There used to be, there may still be, but there definitely used to be demographic mapping. And what it is, it was a map of different areas, different communities that had green and red. The green areas were areas that were deemed good to make loans to the citizens. The red areas were deemed bad loan investments. So how do they come up with these areas? Well, historically, we all know it's not a hidden fact, but historically, the country, the politicians were white male, right? So they would divide the maps based on who they knew, who looked like them. That's what we do as a human race. We tend to gear ourselves toward the people that we can relate to, and normally that is people inside of our race, right? Especially how we grew up and everything else. So these maps represented green, great loan investment areas, which tended to make more money, tend to be white, majority was white, whereas the red side of the map was people on the wrong side of the tracks, or the lower income earners of the country. And then this creates a problem. You say, okay, Nysia, what is the problem with this? Well, they're already using how we spend our money to decide, okay, the cutoff point for getting loans. And then if you fall on the green side of the map, then you may get better loan deals. If you fall on the red side of the map, what will happen possibly is the inability to get that loan, or you may be subject to getting loans that are higher risk, to lose the property, higher expenses, higher interest rate, just not good for the consumer. So now you got to make more money, which we already saw is historically lower, right? And you got to live on the right side of the tracks. And you got to make these deals that you're already at a disadvantage to make. So how does it all loop together to make it an American problem? Well, think about this. you move into a neighborhood. If you can qualify for a loan and get a loan, then you get to buy a home. The American dream, right? So now you buy this home, you're happy, you're paying your mortgage. Mortgages are typically lower than rent, by the way. Then you have also this home, which is a asset, is the foundation of, your wealth. And so these families who are able to buy these houses are then starting to build on their wealth, right? So as a business owner, as a Target business owner, or as a McDonald's, or as a Kmart, which we don't really have anymore, as a Sears, as a fast food joint of any kind, you see that this community is full of homeowners who are buying a property, whose property values are increasing because more people are buying. Therefore, here comes the stores. So now you have all of these stores in this location, and so people are spending money, it's feeding this community, right? But there's one problem that may concern the store owners. And what it is are the bus routes. Yes, I said the bus routes. So store owners may get together to petition, to rally for policy changes in order to change bus routes, therefore keeping the lower earning demographics away from the community, unable to shop and patronize these stores. You may think, well, how is that fair? You tell me, right? It is what it is. So it's all behind the scenes stuff. You may never know it. You may do know it and just don't know where to go to find out, or to, do something about it. But I'm just, the messenger once again. So once the stores petition the public transit system to change bus routes and times and days and limit the accessibility, then they have essentially closed the community to only people who can afford to live there, to only people who can buy the homes, to only people who can get the loans, which started on the green turf of the map anyway, which meant that the majority of the people in this section already did not look like me, right? So with that being said, then you start to pour more money in, and the school systems get better. So now you have increased educational opportunities. The kids go to college. The kids have funding to go to college. They have higher test scores, higher grades. They are able to network with different movers and shakers and parents and friends and everything because they have different opportunities, right? Hence, perpetuating the cycle in order to keep money within a community. And then what do? They go and get a job that their counterparts from the red side of the map may have gone and got their degree, may have gone and did the same hustle, but came from the wrong side of the tracks. And therefore, when they're both knocking on the door of employment, one has a leg up, possibly, depending on the boss, depending on their mindset. I'm not saying it all works this way. I'm just saying, generally speaking. And then, if they both get the job, usually the one from the green side of the map will get higher pay. Hence the reason of the income discrepancies I stated earlier, right? Once the green person goes and get educated, they usually come back and refeed that community. They go back and buy the houses. And hence, what has happened historically is the wealth has continued to grow disproportionately to the red side of the map, and I'll separate it in that way a lot of times, the green side, the red side, because it's not all white and black always. It's different minorities and different holes of the country and pockets, but generally speaking. So the next thing is, and this can go deep, y'all, you have to think about what you know. So if you already know, you're at a disadvantage. According to Inc.com, the next step is to learn to invest 80% of your free time into learning what you don't know. So contrary to popular belief, what you don't know can and will hurt you. Think about this. If you wanted to play the game of Monopoly, but you do not know the rules of Monopoly, can you win that game? Or is a person sitting next to you who knows the rules going to skew it to their advantage or tell you a lie so that way they can cheat or collect more money than they're supposed to collect or give you less money because you don't know any better? Basically, you cannot win that game. So how do you win a game if you do not know the rules? You tell me. And a lot of us have an issue with putting our heads in the sand and not even trying to find out, whether it's because, you know, it looks daunting, it looks overwhelming, it looks whatever. Get the simplicity of it first. You got to start in baby steps. When you first went to school, you didn't know certain things, and it builds on itself. So you can start somewhere. That's no excuse. But what do you got to learn? Well, you got to learn how money works. Everything in our country is ran by money, right? Love it, hate it. Money is the root of all evil. Money creates more options. Whatever you believe in, you need money to eat. You can choose if you want to be homeless. You have all the time freedom in the world. You just don't got no money. You can choose to have all the money in the world and still be just as miserable and nasty. It depends. However, if you want to be a productive member of society, you're going to need money. Why? You're going to need to pay for your rent or your mortgage. You're going to need to pay for your transportation, whether it is public transportation or your own vehicle. You're going to need to eat, and you can't go walking around the community butterball naked. It just won't work, right? Now, unfortunately, a lot of people say, well, I'll just go and do something illegal and have the state pay for me. Yes, 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 I'm not going there today. Then you get 3 meals in a cot. That's the thought pattern. But we're not going there today. So you have to first learn how money works. You have to learn how to play the game, right? Then you invest in different opportunities. You learn about different investment opportunities or strategies. You learn about building your foundation for your family, your financial foundation for your family. You learn about all these things. So you find somebody who can teach them to you. Okay? One thing that people don't realize is you can start your own business. Now, statistically, 16% of millionaires inherit their wealth. Now, let's go back here. 16% of millionaires inherit their wealth. Well, if 76 million millionaires are white, right? So the majority of millionaires are white. That means out of the 16% that inherit their millions, how many do you think are white versus other, right? I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just saying it is what it is. You just got to educate yourself and know what you're dealing with, right? You got to know where you stand, whether you are white, black, Asian, Latino. I love you all, by the way. Now, 76 are white. Only 8% are Asian and 8% are African American, right? So, 16% inherit their wealth. The next biggest group of millionaires are self-made. They are the business owners. That's 47% of the millionaires in this country are business owners. Now, a lot of people say, oh, business ownership, that's for somebody special, a personality, good with people, can talk in public. No, not always true. It's just about education, finding your passion, finding your field, learning once again. So there it goes, spending that 80% of time, that free time, into investing in your mind, right? So 47% are business owners. Listen to this. Black business ownership is actually up about 34-35%. It actually could be up a little bit higher now, which is a good thing. So that's about 2.6 million firms, okay? Out of that, 95% of those firms are sole proprietorships or partnerships. Now, if you don't understand what that means, sole proprietorship means the business is all on me, completely on me. If I get sued, my business gets sued, it's coming after my house, my kids, my food, my dog, right? So it is what it is. That's sole proprietorship. You have all of the upside and all of the downside, no protection, right? Same thing with partnerships, depending on how you write up that contract. The other thing with proprietorships is You can't get sick. You have no time freedom. You think you go into business for yourself because you want to be your own boss. You don't want nobody to tell you when you can go to work, when you can leave, what you got to do. You want to do what you want to do when you want to do it. Hey, I can relate to that. The problem is, if you get sick, who else is there? Who do you go to? Who knows your business like you if you're the only person there? And when we were talking about wealth in America, a lot of that is handed down, is legacies. So you cannot hand down a proprietorship. It is all you. It dies with you. So that creates another knowledge-based fact when it comes to learning about money and how to play the games and how to set your kids up to give them a leg up, right? You got to learn what successful people do in order to become successful. Now, also, 95% we said were sole proprietorship or partnerships, and that is without having any paid employees. So we're talking about job creation, everything else, but yet you are your business. You're a mechanic. And by the way, I love my backyard mechanics. They keep me rolling. Love you to death. However, you're a mechanic. If the car falls on you, I hope not. Lord, please no. But I'm just saying to make it memorable. If a car squishes you and you wind up in the hospital and you're there for, a week because your leg is broken and you got to go through rehab, who is at your shop fixing your cars for you to make you money, or do your money stop? Proprietorship. That's what happens. Now, out of that, there are about 109,000 black businesses that do have paid employees. And with that, here are the stats. That's about, 109,000 black business owners with paid employees, which employs about 1 million people. So, our communities, we're already on the red side of the map. So the stores are not necessarily coming to us. We got to go to them. But we can't go to them because the store owners petitioned so the transportation don't get there. Carpool, ride your own. But the point is, we can't necessarily always go to them. So why not create your own stores, bring it into your own communities, and employ your own people instead of waiting for somebody else to employ your people, right? So and out of that 109,000, that employs over 1 million people. Now, if it employs over 1 million people, there's about $27 billion in payroll. Yes, a billion in payroll when it comes to that. So, so there are some spots in the country that has, got onto this bandwagon of, creating your own jobs and hiring your own people. Georgia is doing a great job. Georgia has 256,848 businesses, mainly in Atlanta, if we're talking about black-owned businesses, but Georgia is leading the way because they have more people in Georgia as a whole. However, D.C. ain't shabby. D.C. has 34.8% of the businesses there being black-owned. Congratulations, D.C., you're doing a good job. The rest of the country needs to get in line with you. Right? But here's the problem. Back to the education. According to the book, The Road to Zero Wealth, How the Racial Divide is Hollowed Out the American Middle Class by RSDW, from 1983 to 2013, the median black income has plummeted by 75%. So, cost of life is going up every year, yet paychecks aren't, right? So that's a problem. We already discussed some of the issues. Now, for the Latinos, 50% have declined in that time frame, while whites have gone up by 14% because they're on the green side of the map. Their stores come to them. They create a closed community with the transportation. Their kids have more opportunities, that scenario again. And then by 2020, it says blacks are projected to lose another 18% and Latinos another 12%. So this means that the whites will have 82 times more wealth over blacks and 68 times over the Latinos. Now, I'm just a messenger. I'm your friend. I am here to give you information. From what I said, you got to educate yourself because you're losing wealth. Maybe you're gaining wealth. Maybe you are one of my white brothers or sisters. I have a few of them. You're gaining wealth. How do you keep it in the family? How do you prosper more? What can you do differently? How can you bring somebody up? Reach back and bring somebody up. But who cares if you don't learn, right? So I personally would suggest a home-based business. I don't care what it is. Personally, I think Primerica is great because you are able to, learn all the ins and outs of business and a little bit of financial stuff and everything else. You can do Mary Kay if that's not your boat, Avon, who cares? But there are tax advantages and everything else to that type of business. But I won't go further into that except you have to learn the business aspect of it. Now, before we run out of time, we have two more I want to say real quick. Number 3 is don't work for money, let money work for you. Learn about investing, find somebody who can teach you, ask a professional. Number 4, don't learn for entertainment, learn to create more value. The more value you bring to a marketplace, the more money you make. And number 5, invest 10% of your money into wealth generating things. We like to invest into cars that depreciate. We like to invest into things that don't bring us money back. But with that being said, you have to learn. You have to put yourself out there. More questions can be answered as you follow up online at G3 Get It Got It Good on Facebook. You can also, chime in by watching WBGR Health and Wellness. I am always available. I will be answering questions and comments for the rest of the day, the week. Just let me know. But I just wanted to scratch the surface and introduce you to some things that may stimulate your mind a little bit, open your eyes a little bit, get you to thinking, whatever the thing may take, okay? So, with that, thank you for joining me today on another episode of Get It, Got It Good. I hope to see you here next week, same place, same time at 11:30 we go live. And remember, be an original, not a copy, because the original is always worth more. Have a great day, you guys.